Hello, my name is Kevin Pang. I head up the global consulting practice here at Lux Research, as well as the life science verticals. I'm very delighted today to have with us Nancy Shea, who's the VP of Innovation at Ashland Chemicals. Nancy, welcome, and could you please introduce yourself and give us a little bit about your background and experience?
Sure, and I'm very happy to be here. I'm the Global Vice President of Innovation and Marketing at Ashland, and that includes 9 different business verticals because I work in the Ashland Specialty Ingredient Division. And that role is responsible for the strategic plans, the innovation pipelines, the marketing plans, and the training and capability for the whole organization for creativity and developing the right environment, the culture for innovation. And it is a global role, so we have offices in Singapore, Shanghai, parts of Europe, and now we just started one in Africa. And as well as the corporate offices that I work in are in New Jersey.
Fantastic. It sounds like you're quite busy.
Yes, and I love that. That's the best.
Well, I'm glad you could join us. Maybe we could start with giving us perhaps a personal look or definition of what innovation means to you. And then we'll go from there into Ashland in general.
Innovation, you know what, it used to be that innovation was just creating something new. Mm-hmm. And it's evolved in my thinking to be creating value for either the company or the humanity at large. So it's not just the creation of something new like a product or service, but something that can be adding value either monetarily to a company mm-hmm. or improving lives, transforming lives, connecting people like through the internet and other those. So innovation is more expansive than just the creation of something new.
Okay, so I'm intrigued by your earlier comment that your role is global and
right.
all the many offices. So when you think about innovation, how do you think about it from Ashland as one company versus all the different subsidiaries that you have? Is innovation right. different in different areas?
You know, we develop a global plan, meaning mm-hmm. that we take our chemistries and we know we want to grow from the core set of chemistries. Mm-hmm. But how they're applied and used by the different global regions from Asia Pacific, they will have their own take on that. Mm. So there might be a global financial purpose, such right. as we want to have 25% of our revenue every year come from new products. Okay. And we want to etch that up to about 30% in 5 years from now. Mm. The role of innovation in Asia may not be across the 9 industries mm-hmm. that we have globally. It could be focused on just the care businesses right. or care and pharmaceutical. Then the chemistries that we use in those regions have to apply to our customers. So if it is a multinational, chances are it can be a global take on that innovation pipeline through our core chemistries. If it's a local and mm-hmm. they need particular, differentiated chemistries, we would develop them for that local supplier or customer.
So it sounds like a very integrated process, and yet
yep.
needs to be distinct for each of the different regions. So how do you go about thinking about the strengths and weaknesses, unmet needs in each market, that sort of thing?
Right. We do the typical voice of customer research, where mm-hmm. we'll talk to our top customers that generate like 80% of our revenue. And then I've also asked the teams, particularly in the last 18 months, to merge beyond who we sell to and go into who we may not be selling to, and out into the kind of the hinterlands of Asia, if you will, so that we're gleaming where the market is going, okay. not just what our multinational partners are telling us that they need.
Really, that's interesting.
So in India, we will do a different type of research than we will do in China. And it's partly driven by our customer base, mm-hmm. it's partly driven by the culture in those regions, and it's also driven by our R&D capability in each of those regions. Oh. So we have a better penetration right now in India than we do in parts of China. Mm-hmm. So I can do more research with the end users and our customers, where in China, we're just starting to really kind of penetrate that market from an right. end user perspective. Okay?
So let's take a step back a little bit and kind of in your role and the fact that you do so much traveling, right? What do you see are the really big challenges, the really big opportunities where innovation can make a difference?
For our company, I really think water. Do you know that almost all of our products need water to be applied right. correctly? We're rheology modifiers.
Right. Okay.
So if you think about the quality, the quantity, the availability of water, we really got to understand If that goes away or ratchets down,
Right.
how will our chemistries play into this?
Right.
So when I think about it, I actually kind of get worried a little bit, you know. We have this great rheology modification type of portfolio, but we need to expand beyond just that into other types of delivery systems or capabilities. Number two for me is the population, the growth of it, and the lack of space to grow food,
Right. Okay.
along with water, and the welfare or healthfulness of this population that is expanding globally. And it will be different problems in each site. So just take that apart and say, what could we do in agriculture? If we can't grow the crops on land or in trees or whatever they
Right.
grow, could we make them up in the lab? Could we be part of some sort of a venture that is like lab-generated food with the same nutrient value of a carrot, but it's not a grown in the ground
No,
type of
okay,
carrot?
Right. Well, that's interesting. Okay, so that's two. Would you venture a third?
The medical space. We have a project that is called medical technology, and a lot of it has to do with not only longevity, but in all the conflicts around the world, there's a lot of soldiers that are coming back wounded,
Yes.
and they need better care of those wounds, and we're working diligently on developing products for that.
Fantastic. So tying this back, so these are three basic areas / platforms. So when we go back to thinking about your incubators, do you influence the innovators by saying, hey, these are three things that really concern me, or do you kind of, is it more subtle than that in terms of guiding where?
Oh no, I'm pretty direct. They know how I feel about certain things, and I know how they feel. I've learned over the years, I give everybody their own little wild idea,
Right.
and they can take it to step 2 in our process.
Okay.
And so they can have their own thoughts on what we should do for water, and give them the time to incubate that idea and come back with a preliminary business case. And that doesn't bother me a bit to, you know, free them up to find
Right.
if their idea is better. I don't tell or dictate an idea. I just really help them think through the assumptions on, this is real, guys. The water issue is very, very real.
Right. Right.
We have a product line that requires water. What are we going to do if we can only use half the amount of water in making a can of paint?
Right.
How could we play in that? Okay.
Okay. Let me try to wrap this up by having you kind of think about some of the things you've just shared with us. And given that we're at the Lux Executive Summit and we have some 300 attendees coming here, what kind of advice would you give to would-be innovators, whether they work in small, medium, or large companies?
I would say probably 3 things to them. One is really expand your network of contacts so that you are looking at the world through a lot of different lenses. Don't be afraid of what you don't know. And don't think you have to know it all before you go talk to a professor in academia or any sort of an expert. In fact, people like to talk about what they're working on, right? And have somebody listen to them and ask questions. So expand your network. Number 2 is have the tenacity and courage to stand up for your ideas. In corporate America, there are more naysayers than there are people who are going to help you with your idea. How do you build that tenacity? Sometimes there's certain personalities that have it, and others are align yourself with other folks in the innovation circle that you feel will support you. And it could be from a mentor or whatever it is, but have that, don't let them say no and you just sit down and go, okay, I'm not going to follow this. And the third piece to this to me is have that courage when you get the yes to go get it done, that you have the courage to actually go through with it. And there's going to be 1 step forward, 2 steps back. That's what I learned a long time ago. But you have to believe in the idea, and you have to make it come to fruition. You're going to find very few people that will lead you. You've got to lead.
Fantastic.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Nancy.